Welcome to another edition of Small Time Nooks, where we explore stories about interesting people and fascinating events from the Big Bang to the 21st century. After finishing my Greek and Roman civilization degree, a good friend of mine asked me if I had learnt about the Antikythera mechanism. I hadn't even heard of it. He enjoyed collecting cool and curious stories like this. Sadly, we lost him a few years ago. So, this one is for you, John. The Antikythera wreck. During the spring of 1900, Captain Kondos and his sponge diving crew are on their way to North Africa. A storm forces them to take refuge on the Greek island of Antikythera, where they try their luck for sponge along the coast. Elias, a member of the crew, resurfaces wild-eyed and hysterical. He claims to have seen an area of the seabed strewn with the dead bodies of men and horses. Captain Kondos is worried that the young man has decompression sickness, but Elias insists. Reluctantly, Kondos agrees to dive into the area and soon returns bearing the arm of a bronze statue. What Elias had actually seen were statues of men and horses, and close by they find the wreck of a Roman-era merchant ship. The amount of artifacts strewn about is so overwhelming that Kondos makes a report to the authorities in Athens. The Greek navy arrive to support the salvage effort. Between them, they recover a multitude of ancient relics, mostly of Greek origin, many statues, a lyre, glassworks, etc. The treasures date from between 340 to 80 BC. The wreck is considered to be the richest ancient shipwreck in terms of cultural and historical antiquities and instigates the field of underwater archaeology. The research. In 1902, Greek archaeologist Valerios Stias looks through the Antikythera collection in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. He picks up a heavily seawater corroded, green colored, square shaped piece that had been ignored up to now. He turns it over in his hands and is about to replace it when he spots what looks like a gear and some symbols on one side of the block. Stias is the first to notice that this lump of debris is worth further investigation and supposes it might have been a type of navigation aid. In 1906, a German classicist, Albert Rehm, takes an interest in the ancient Greek gadget. He sees an even deeper significance in the design than was previously thought. Rehm concludes that its overlapping gears and symbols might just suggest a correlation with the path of the sun. For the next 45 years, this Antikythera mechanism remains mostly undisturbed. Then, during the 1950s, English physicist Derek J. Sola Price turns his attention to Athens and the mysterious apparatus. He is the first person who uses an X-ray machine to collect results. His study eventually produces a book called Gears from the Greeks in 1974, where he underscores and deepens Rehm's astronomy theory. Price outlines that its complex inner workings are potentially capable of tracking time in relationship with the movement of multiple heavenly bodies. He is the first to suggest that it might even have been a basic analog computerized calendar. For the next 3 decades, interest in the mechanism builds among historians, engineers, and mathematicians. They make small advances within the already established theories. For instance, Michael T. Wright, a curator at London's Science Museum, and computer historian Alan Bromley undertake scans in the early 1990s using linear tomography. The depth of this information reveals how the mechanism seemed to be designed to take into account the variable motions within the moon's phases. A quick aside, you may notice that the visual style is quite varied in this episode. That is because the image tools I'm using were upgraded halfway through production. This feels strangely appropriate for a story about technology revealing itself over time. Back to the Greeks and their clever device. In 2005, Tony Freeth, an honorary professor at University College London, and his team custom-built a more advanced high-resolution X-ray machine to analyze the mechanism's tomography. Not only do they read hidden inscriptions and map internal structures, but they reveal that the device is constructed to track multiple astronomical cycles, confirming earlier findings that it was created to track the phases of the sun and the moon with its variations, and furthermore, finding a function which allows it to predict eclipses and display calendar information. There is even one dial that coincides with the Panhellenic divine festivals held on 4 consecutive years by the major city-states in ancient Greece. The 4 festivals were held in Delphi for Apollo, Nemea for Zeus, Isthmia for Poseidon, and most famously Olympia, also for Zeus. The Olympic Games became such an important part of ancient Greek culture that they used its frequency to measure time. The Antikythera mechanism is where culture and science coincide. A few years later, Michael T. Wright follows up his earlier tomographical research by creating a physical working reconstruction of the mechanism. Unanswered questions. There is no doubt that the increasingly complex and intricate Antikythera mechanism is the oldest known device to automate astronomical calculation. The innovative construction of the mechanism has led a number of researchers into believing that it was designed by Archimedes. The ancient Greek mathematician and physicist had a habit of creating unprecedented inventions like the Archimedes screw, still used in crop irrigation today. But there is one flaw in this argument. There are many examples of the progression of ancient Greek culture in design or how early philosophers built the foundations for later scientific thought. But there exists no such progression for a device like this. No basic templates, no replicas, nor any improvements from future iterations. The unique nature of the mechanism only deepens its mystery. Research continues to this day, with some scientists suggesting that from the information it has yielded so far, its start date was 178 BC. Others believe that the machine is so intricate that it may never have worked at all. Incidentally, the Antikythera mechanism is used by name as the time travel device in 2023's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So, a storm, an ancient enigmatic machine, and 2,000 years of corrosion created a mystery that could not immediately be solved by the level of human development in the early 20th century. Instead, it waited patiently for science to evolve, and then layer by layer it revealed to us its true nature. The existence of the Antikythera mechanism shows us that the ancient Greeks' intellectual ambition was even more impressive than it was originally presumed. Thanks for listening to Small Time Nooks. Please check out our other episodes.